Punters, this is episode 56 of CueBall's Rambles, and today I have the one, the only, the man I've known for a long, long time and haven't seen for a long, long time, Mr. Chuck Mambo.
Hey, good to be on the Rambles. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, man. Like I said before we started this, last time we would have seen each other would have been back in 2009, Pro Evw. You was Papa G, I was JP.
Papa G.
Man, I don't think much has really changed with you apart from your name, you know, but
No, how about with you?
Lost hair fell down, having some face paint. Sorry?
Less face paint, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't got any of that shit. Yeah, so, you know, it's
crazy though. I guess the last time we saw each other when we were kids, and now we are men.
Yeah, now we're men.
Well, I mean, as manly as we're going to be, but
yeah. This is just a put on voice, but that doesn't matter. So should we start with the questions?
Let's get to it. Yeah, cool.
So everybody has a story, and I like to know it. So, Papa G, Chuck Mambo, for the dozens and dozens watching at home, cheesy. How and why did you get into wrestling, brother?
Well, I will tell the dozens. I had a friend who was a couple years older than me when I was like 5 years old, and we had like played action figures together all the time. And then one day he knocked on my door and he had the Rock and Owen Hart like double set that came together. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then it turned out to be wrestling. And then so because he had them, I needed some. So then I got the Kane and Mankind set from Woolworths. And then pretty much from there, so I guess I was like, yeah, I think I said 5, right? Yeah. Pretty much from there, like our big brothers were always talking about it. I thought that they were talking about WrestleMania 17, but I figured out that chronologically, they must have been talking about Rock and Austin's first WrestleMania match. They were all way behind Austin. And even though I'd never watched it, I was like way behind The Rock. And then I went to a car boot sale, got like a video of some wrestling show, and then cried because Hulk Hogan wasn't on it. So they let me trade it for one that was with Hulk Hogan on. And that was WrestleMania 9, which then it turns out everyone shits on that, but I thought it was great. And then, I guess from there, just, you know, we would like, I didn't really watch much that wasn't WWF until like I'd started training, even a little bit after I'd started training, which was lucky because I grew up in like the middle of nowhere, even by Gloucester standards. But then my mum and dad split up and dad moved to Gloucester. And then I Googled like wrestling school Gloucester, which led me to Pro Evo in Quedgley Town Hall.
Oh, no, it's Hempstead Village Hall. I remember.
Oh, is that right? Oh, God, I've been getting it wrong all my life. Hempstead Village Hall. And it had that big like gas heater or something in the middle of the ring, so you could barely do like a suplex or anything.
Oh, man, those are the days. Hempstead Village Hall, I always remember on a Sunday, we'd always rock up, and then we would have to go to that bunker kind of thing, the shed out the back of it.
Yeah.
And we'd all have to, every trainee would have to bring the ring in. We'd have to set it up, which is good, you know, when you think about it.
It's good discipline, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll see when... Go on.
Quite a few trainees, as I recall, would like shockingly be delayed by half an hour and turn up just as the ring was set up, which is kind of a dick move.
Oh, I know, man. Yeah, I remember.
It was a good day, though. You'd do like the morning session, so like pot noodles and hot dogs and stuff, which is like terrible food to then do an afternoon session on. Yeah. But it's like 7 hours of wrestling a day or something.
Yeah, because I think we'd end up. I think we'd get there for 9, and then it would start at about 10 o'clock. The first hour would be setting the ring up, you know, learning how to set the ring up, which still nowadays is, you know, still up there.
Yeah.
And then we'd do till about 4 o'clock, I believe, and then we'd have to set the ring down. Then after that grueling training session, you know, all the bumps, all the flips, all the routines and everything, and oh God. But worth it. It was fun, you know. We met each other, and the rest is history.
Exactly.
So let's talk about Pro EVW, which is now Evolution Wrestling. So,
Oh, cool.
so back then, you was known as Papa G.
Indeedy.
Like I said, not much has really changed, I don't think, in kind of what you do. So how did the name Papa G come about, and what was your first thoughts about Pro EVW?
Ah, man, I was like so wide because I went to the first session that they did. Like it just matched up nicely with our move. It was so like we weren't sure before we went in. I was like, I think it might be a kid's birthday party because there was all these like balloons and stuff. But then I went in and there was the ring, and so that kind of blew my mind away. And then Dave Mastiff was like, I guess just there to do them like a favor, I suppose, because he wasn't like a regular coach, but like they had him like do a match or something against Gilligan Gordon.
Yeah, probably sounds about right.
And I got to be the referee, so I was like marking out huge. And I was just like, yeah, this is my destiny. But somehow I thought that like if I would do well enough at training, because I was like, I don't know, 14 or something, I had this misguided idea that if I just like really smashed the bumps at training every time, then like somehow the WWE would find out and I'd be, you know, like I had no real perspective of the context of like needing to go out there and like wrestle for as many promotions as possible and like do all these things. And I mean, you knew me, I wasn't very disciplined or talented. So.
I always remember the one move you would do, which would be you'd go to the corner, you would bounce on each rope, and then backflip, I think you kind of done off the ropes.
Something like that. Yeah.
I always just think that's pretty fucking awesome, you know.
Well, thank you. It was my like disguise for not being able to do a backflip, I guess.
You know what? Also, something else, you knew how to work the crowd as well. The crowd.
I did have that. Yeah, and they were tough crowds back then.
yeah. I remember, you know, obviously we'd be on shows together as well. You know, I think you would. I think the first match I remember you in was against. I can't remember what his ring name was, but his real name is Avon White.
I believe it was Lightning Jack Daniels.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, I remember. I think that was your first match when I was there anyway, and I was always will remember that one.
Oh wow, I'm flattered. Was that in the theatre in Gloucester, or was it? We did one in like the Forest of Dean.
Yeah, I think it was Forest of Dean. Yeah,
that was cool. You get to go to some weird places with wrestling.
Yeah, I remember one being in Tewkesbury as well, because you were on that one as well.
Tewkesbury was cool in that like town hall with the big tower on and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
good times, man.
Yeah, definitely. So, what do you remember about Pro EVW? Obviously, if you don't remember much, it's fair enough. This was years and years.
I was going to say my memory is not my strong point.
That's fair enough, but you know, like
I always remember it was a great time though, and just like one of my main memories is driving in the back of the van home from a show, and the car got pulled over because someone had reported that they thought Robbo was under the influence whilst he was driving.
Oh man,
but he wasn't, because apparently he couldn't drink or something. I don't know. Yeah. But and I was just like, I'm pretty laid back, but I really hate the idea of being in trouble. So I was just in the back, like, should I just come out and confess that I'm in here? But fortunately, they never opened the back of the van to check what was in it, so you could just kind of hear the police talking or whatever. I mean, I don't think it's even a crime. So, but that's like one of the very enduring memories, and just like a good bunch of dudes, really, and putting on some fun shows. And it was the time before there was like really packed crowds for the most part when I was there anyway.
Yeah.
But I think it's good experience, you know, like being able to be awkward.
Yeah.
In front of like 7 people or 40 people. But sometimes they ran really big shows, really cool shows. So
yeah.
I remember watching, I don't know who he was against, but I watched Joel Redmond at one of them. Just being like, whoa, he's the man. Like the match is so good. Looking back at it, I think they did like a superplex or something, but I was just like,
whether it work for you must work for the crowd.
Yeah, 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 right. How about you, man? What are your main memories from there?
Oh, my memories. Jesus. Wasn't expecting that question. I don't know. I just always remember like, on Sundays, always turning up with Robbo because Robbo would always pick me up, with his son Liam John.
All right.
You want to call him. And we'd always get there, we'd always do our bumps first. Even before we got in the ring, we'd always do the bump rolls, feeding and all that on the mat area, didn't we?
Oh yeah. Oh, no wonder my back hurts
now. yeah, it'd be like little drills, like we would learn how to punch each other and kick each other like drills while somebody was in the middle. But there was like, who was there? So obviously the head trainers would have been Levi mentioned at the time.
Yeah.
Obviously Robert was there. Someone called Brent. I don't know if you remember him. Atom
450.
Yeah. What happened to that?
He used to say something to me before I went out. Huh?
What happened to him? He was awesome. He was great. Good lad.
He was real good. Yeah. I think he was technically my first match. It was like a tag match against him and Lee in masks.
Oh yeah.
And, I let go of their identity. But
nice.
He used to go like, Papa G, give it the beans. I used to think about that before, like, even if they weren't there, I'd be like, Papa G, give it the beans.
Nice. And there would be the.
I thought you were laughing, but I think the screen is froze.
Oh, your screen is froze. Oh, there we go. We're back. And we're back. There we go. Yeah. I remember obviously there was Lightning Jack Daniels. Yes, that is his name. I do remember that. Yeah, Lightning Jack Daniels. And then there was Charlie Garrett, which now is, I don't know what his name is.
Charlie Sterling.
Charlie Sterling. Yeah, he's doing really well himself.
Do you know, I only wrestled him for the first time the other day. How crazy is that? At Rev Pro. Really? After all those, like, I remember, I didn't think he was like only a year or two older than me either, because he was like, when he turned up to the wrestling school, he already was like built like a man and everything.
Yeah.
Super confident. So pretty sweet to see him doing so well though.
Yeah, it's good. It's fair play to him. And then obviously there'd be little Liam at the time, but now he's, tall and grown up and all that.
Probably an adult now, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, who else was there? Somebody else I just thought of, Vicky Haskins. She was there training at the time as well.
Oh yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
You remember Rory White, can't remember what his name is.
Oh man, Rory is a good dude. I haven't talked to him for
Tom Fraser, AOV, Ambassadors of Violence, quick through. Oh man, it's just all coming back to me now. We're doing this. Do you remember Casey Sunshine and Joey Sniper, the tag team Hollywood Hot Shots? I think they were called.
Hollywood Hot Shots. I think I did. My dad after the show would always be like, "Is he really American?" Never tell Dad.
They were great bunch of guys. I remember I had a tag team with them as well. Then they, it's really great. But anyway, this is, we're going too much into the throwback now. We need to this. So, obviously, you had your time in Pro EVW, which obviously was some good times,
For sure.
If I remember rightly, I think you may have took a bit of time away from the ring.
Yeah, it wasn't really much of like a conscious choice. I just, because I could only really get to my dad's like every other weekend. Like sometimes it could be every week because my dad is incredibly patient. But then like also just kind of being a teenager and wanting to hang out and do other things and not really having the money all the time to train. I wound up just like, which I feel bad about really, because I look back and I think like, wow, like probably started at like not that much later than like Mark Andrews or Pete Dunne. And I mean, I have way less natural talent than them. But if I would have had as much drive, then maybe it would have been a bit different.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I don't regret it though, because it was like nice to just do other stuff for a while.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So I was gonna say, what made you come back then? Because I think by the time you came back, you would have been known as Chuck Mambo, if I'm correct. I don't know, I might be right.
Yeah, well, I think like just before I moved to London for university, I think I did get back to Pro Evo for a bit.
Right.
And then, because I never like stopped wanting to be a wrestler or anything like that. I just, as I said, memory is my strong point. But then when I moved to London, I was like, well, maybe I'll look for some London-based promotions. And I think Gilligan had mentioned either 1PW or IPW but then they were actually pretty far away. And I couldn't really find anything. So I did amateur for a year.
Okay.
And like just down the road from my uni. And that was cool. But like as much as pro wrestling takes like a lot of training, like amateur, you really, I think, have to do it like every day if you want to be good at it. And they could only train once a week because of just one thing or another, like the way they could get the hall and stuff. So I did like one tournament, and because of the weight categories and stuff, the guy was like 1.5 feet shorter than me, but like made up for it all with muscle. And he had me in like, I guess, a waist lock. I still didn't know the rules of wrestling at this point, of real wrestling. I was thinking it would be like a 3 count on the mat.
Yeah.
And so I literally like kayfabed a kick out at like 2 on one of the matches, and just obviously lost because I'd already been pinned. And this guy like was wrapped around my waist so tight, and he was so strong. And they teach you to like bridge up and turn into the pin or whatever. And I bridged up and like turned as quick as I could and just like fractured my own rib because this guy was so strong. And I tried to keep going for a while, but then eventually I found progress, thank God. And I couldn't really, I did both for a little while, and then like you miss one and then you miss another, and then before you know it, you miss like that was kind of how I fell out of Pro Evo as well, because I was only going every other week, and then like once you've missed one, then you've actually ended up missing a month, and then you miss like 6 weeks, and then you're like, ah, shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, then there's this funny story of we were in this club, and in the bathroom I saw like a Defend Indie sticker, and I was like, oh, Defend Indie Wrestling, interesting. And then I googled it, and because I had no idea about like independent wrestling really, or anything, the internet.
Yeah.
So I googled that, and then it led to like Facebook, I think, about like Screw Indie Wrestling and Defend Indie Wrestling, and this storyline that was going on at Progress, even though that wasn't really a story at Progress, actually. But so anyway, somehow it led me to Progress. And then I realized Progress had a training school. So, and it was like half an hour away from where I lived at uni. So that was really good. And I went to try and find it. And I mean, you know, like wrestling schools are never easy to find. I was like an hour late, I think, for the first one, because I like got to this weird business estate in London, and then most of it was like evangelical churches, but then I just had this like slam kind of stuff from one of the units, and I kind of pulled up the door thing. Yeah, can you see?
Yeah, I can see the pulling up motion. That's good. I'm glad you've done that.
The door. And then sure enough, there was a wrestling school, and that was cool because then you could wrestle there like 5 days a week, which was really handy. Because I think if you do it less than like twice a week, it's a big step up when you do it more than
twice a week. Yeah, of course, definitely, yeah. So Progress Wrestling then. So what have you, obviously for people who don't know, you know, what you was up to during Progress Wrestling, you know, explain what you was up to.
So yeah, I trained there for about, I remember saying to Jim Smallman, like, hey, so before I was wrestling as Papa G, but that was kind of just like to pop my friends. Doesn't really seem like I should still be called that anymore. And he was like, I imagine you own a surfboard. And I was like, I do own a surfboard. And he was like, well, why don't you roll with that? And I was like, oh, okay, well, one of my friends who surfs is called Chuck. So and then I just couldn't figure out a last name. I wrote so many different names down and tried to tweak everything, but it just wasn't happening. But then one day at a festival, we were talking about how cool the Black Mamba snakes are. And I was like, that's a pretty cool last name, actually. But then Matt, I just changed the A to an O because I did like a GCSE in Spanish, and they said that the masculine things end in an O. So it's like,
oh, okay.
And then that was really cool. We did all these like Endeavor shows, which was like a trainee show. But before that happened, I mean, I guess I saw my first Progress show after I'd started training. And like when we'd be at the training sessions, they'd be talking about how crazy their fans are and how great the shows are. But like when you've been to a few training schools, like everyone says that, and it's not always true. But this time it turned out to be really true. I was at like chapter 9, I think. Yeah. and it was just the wildest atmosphere I'd ever seen in my life. And I was just real blown away by it. And then I remember there was like the first trainee show coming up, and I messaged John from like management to be like, hey man, like I've done shows before. I feel like I'm probably ready to be on the show. And I thought I'd be on the main show. Like, what a moron, as if I was ready to be on the main show. Unfortunately, took that as sort of saying I should be on the trainee show. And he put me on the trainee show, and it was really nice. And it was kind of cool. Like, I sort of took it as starting from scratch when I started at Progress, because I wasn't like focused or any good when I was at Pro Evo, which was no one's fault other than my own. But like this time I had like I understood the mechanics of things, so I could like focus more on character development and understanding psychology and things like that. And then just luckily, I think because the crowd kind of knew it was a trainee show, they were like a little bit more forgiving and a little bit extra supportive, which was nice. And I guess just kind of onwards and upwards from there. Like looking back at it, everyone at the time was like, oh, like get a character and then like less is more and what. Well, not everyone was like that, but a lot of the kind of industry standard advice at the time was that characters and like don't do too much or you'll kill the business, heaven forbid. And I really went down that route for a while, which was helpful in a lot of ways because it like helped me get confident being in front of people. And I think if you can like get fairly over telling like a simple story, then that's like a good skill. And then when you tell like the more complex stories, then hopefully you'll still be over. I don't know. But also looking back at it, maybe I should have become more of a fundamentally sound wrestler before I added the character and stuff. But I'd like to believe that now I'm somewhere, in the middle where I'm like a pretty entertaining character and better at wrestling than I was before. Not amazing, but I'm pretty good.
But you have a good following, which is awesome. Happy to see it for you. So you must be doing something right.
Thank you, man. It's open.
So obviously you've done Progress Wrestling, and I'm sure you've wrestled in many other promotions. I will admit I have lost myself with being what's the word, like watching what you've been up to. Well, sure. I do know you appeared at CZW Impact Wrestling. I mean, that in itself is fucking awesome, man. So what happened there? Explain that to me.
What did happen there? So CZW, I decided anyway that when I was 21, I wanted to go to America to visit some friends. And then just by chance, Drake Younger was doing his like goodbye to the Indies tour. And he was doing some seminars and stuff. So I did like 2 of his seminars in a weekend. And at the time anyway, he was like such a upbeat, positive, like inspiring guy. And what was my point? Oh yeah, so I messaged him to be like, oh, I'm gonna go to America. Do you have any advice on like anything? I'm gonna be in like New York, New Jersey kind of area. And he said, oh, go down and visit DJ Hyde, like train with him, and they might put you on some shows. So they do these like dojo wars every Wednesday. So I did a couple of those and they were really, really fun. And then they basically just had a spot for me to like be a jobber on one of their main events or one of their pay-per-views. And it was so fun. It was really, really cool. But I went out being all like, hey, Mambo. As soon as I got through the curtain, someone in the crowd goes like, who the fuck is this guy? He doesn't deserve to be. And like a good amount of the crowd turned their backs on me and started doing the Mexican wave. And like, I think now I could probably kind of see the reaction and change accordingly. But at the time I was like, well, I'm just going to carry on with what I have decided we're going to do. But I mean, also my job was like to put the other guys, make the other guys what's going on that one. So I guess that would have been a dick move if I like suddenly made it about myself actually. And then the Impact one, Fight Club asked if I'd like to go over for WrestleMania one year, which was real flattering. And then what happened there? They were like, oh yeah, we'll put you on our show, but we'll see if we can get you on any others. And they tried to put me on Pancakes and Pile Drivers. And then I think because they had brought Sammy Callahan they were like one of the first companies in the UK to bring him over. He kind of wanted to like repay the favor, I guess, by being like, oh, I'll put him on Pancakes and Pile Driver. And like, if he wants to come for the summer, I'll like just take him around America. I was like, oh yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And the plan had been that I would kind of stay with different people for like a week at a time or something. But I ended up just like staying on his sofa and sometimes in his like, he even gave me his bed when he wasn't there. What a nice guy. And just happened. For like 6 weeks, which was, and he took me to like roller coaster parks and it was the best. But then also, obviously, he wrestled, I think he was the world champ at the time. Yeah, wild. And I forgot my point again. Oh yeah. So he took me up to Impact, and I just like helped out on the show, yada 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 yada. But Don Callis and Scott D'Amore actually remembered me because I'd driven them one time because Scott D'Amore trained Eddie Dennis, who's my friend, so when they were in England, he invited them to come and watch a training session at Sacrifice Pro in Leighton Buzzard. And then he was like, oh, can you drive them back to their hotel? Because I don't think they should have to get trained this late. And I was like, yeah, sure. And they seemed really tired and like they didn't particularly want to talk. So I was like, I tried making small talk a few times and it didn't really work. So I was like, oh, that's fine. We can just sit quietly. It makes sense. And then like right at the like last 10 minutes, they got really chatty. So I was like, oh, sweet. This is nice. And then fortunately, they like remembered the ride and we're like, oh, no way, Mambo's.
Nice.
And then they put me into a scramble. And then it was extra cool. I mean, there was a lot of cool things about the scramble, but Zachary Wentz, like me and him had worked together quite a few times. Mostly in Fight Club, but like generally in the UK. And so I was like, well, this is maybe my one chance to be on Impact. So I want to like put out a load of good ideas, but also I don't want to be like the guy that's like, you know, the guy that wants to get all his shit in and and make it all about them. I didn't want to be that, but like just every chance I got, I'd be like, well, I could put this in here if you want. And then Wentz would always kind of like catch eyes with me and be like, I like Mambo's. I think we should put Mambo in here. And he like really, really looked out for me. Not that anyone else wasn't. Like everyone in Impact was like super nice and cool.
Yeah.
It was really awesome. And I was talking to Lance Storm for about a minute before I realized it was Lance Storm.
Wow.
And then I tried to like, I'd already shaken his hand and I like tried to not like sell the surprise that I realized it was Lance Storm.
What do you do in that moment? It's like, oh, hi. It's like, Lance Storm. Oh, hello.
Hey, Mr. Storm, I actually really fucking loved you as a child.
Oh my God, man. Only you could do that. Oh, that's classic Mambo moment right there.
I guess so.
So in years to come, how would you like Mambo to be remembered?
To be remembered? Oh, I guess with a smile or a laugh, I guess, really. Just for the fans to know that I gave it my best. I don't know. Or I don't know. I guess I never really think about how to be remembered. With a smile is good enough for me.
That's fair enough. So, yeah, I know during lockdown you've been filming because we had a brief discussion the other day. You know, you doing filming for different shows. But what is next for Chuck Mambo?
Ooh, who knows? Hopefully, just a fucking world tour. Well, I'm just really loving tagging with TK as the Sunshine Machine.
Nice.
So that's real fun at the moment. I think our big goal would be to get to wrestle for AEW, really. Yeah. But as long as we can like make a living and hopefully see some of the world, then that's good by me.
That's fair enough. It's a good answer.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's my questions out of the way. We got a couple of thank yous. CueBall questions.
Really? Cool.
Yeah, we've got a couple of them. So the first one is from bear with me. Hang on. Somebody I know called James Ioli. What a weird name. It's not really wrestling related. It's kind of your family, I suppose. Says, I work with your Uncle Philip. Will you ever consider a career in mortgage advice with us both?
He works with Uncle Philip. Yes. Uncle Phil came to see me at Dragon Pro one time in Newport.
Yeah.
A career in I think I might ruin things for people's housing more than I would do any good. And actually, no, I wouldn't.
Your answer, no.
Respect to you guys for doing it. I can't imagine how complicated it is.
Fair enough. Last question by somebody called Dan Kerry. The biggest mark in independent wrestling in the UK.
Oh, nice.
By the way. So he wants to know, what heel work did you prefer? DNR or Nothing to Prove?
Nothing to Prove.
Why is that?
I think because it was my first time doing the turn and stuff, and I got to I really felt like I was like a part of, maybe I was a little too soon. Nah, I do think it was just, I don't really know why. I just knew that it was a bit more fun. I think, why was it? I don't know, but it was a bit more fun.
Just because.
Maybe it was that the reaction the first time that I turned heel. People already probably knew that I was the mouse because the blonde hair was fucking creeping out the light. But getting to do that like big reveal and like the reaction, just the first time really felt like really special, you know. Although actually the first time when we did the turn at Progress was pretty spectacular because I was surprised that they even cared that Sweet Jesus came out because we hadn't been on the show for ages. and then they still, the reaction is just always good fun. But I don't know what it was really. Maybe just the matches were different. Although, well, I might take my answer back, but I don't know. I'm really indecisive.
Fair enough. I mean, me personally, I can never imagine Chuck Mambo as a heel.
It's not my best work.
But, for the surprises, you got to do it in wrestling. It's experience in everything, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah, definitely. It was a lot of fun. I don't think it was as good as me playing a babyface by any means, but I guess like at DNR, it was kind of fun trying to like be under Eddie's wing, and like we were in this team that felt like we had a real direction to like get attack back on the straight and narrow type thing, and like trying to sort of take away all the things that I had done as a goodie. And then with DNR, I think I got a little bit confused maybe by the end about what I was trying to do. I don't know. Nah, that's not really fair either. I don't know.
It's what it is.
As I said, memory is not my strong point.
It's all good, man. So that's it. That concludes the Rambles. We are finished.
The Rambles. Hey.
We are finished. One thing I will say is this has been an awesome trip down memory lane. It really has.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I might try and get some of the older Pro EVW guys on, have a chat with them and see what they're up to. Also, like when we wrestled, like when we first started wrestling, I think the wrestling world has evolved a lot. Especially in the independent scene as well, because I don't know, I guess there was an independent scene back, when we first started in 2009, but I think it's so much fucking bigger now. It's
incomparably, really. Yeah.
It's crazy how big it is. That's what she says. So this has been my awesome guest, Chuck Mambo, Papa G, whatever you want to call him. Thanks for coming on, man, and taking time out of your day to speak to this thing, whatever you want to call me.
This masculine man now.
Yeah, who used to wear
long hair and face paint.
Good old days. I have been the most over wrestler in Wales, the beer drinking, heavy metal listening, bold-headed brawler CueBall. Stay safe, stay positive. #, yeah.